Hello?
Hello.
Hello, welcome to the stream.
Thank you.
All right.
Ugh,
So I'm going to be playing Neon Mistakes by. Do you prefer Ericbomb or any other alias?
Eric is fine.
Oh,
That's quite clearly my name, so Eric is fine.
okay. All right. Anything that I should know about the game before I get started?
Not really. It was vaguely based off of the original, the one from the Game Maker Community Jam.
Yeah.
It's, quite clear. I mean, you forced your way through playing that one quite bravely, and this one is based off the same concept. Even though it wasn't super received, I'm like, you know what? I like this as sort of a way to practice because the art style is something I can work on stuff. So yeah, it's sort of that same theme, but hopefully better in every way.
Okay. Sounds good. Well,
I
let's.
started completely from scratch.
Oh, and it's got music.
Yes, it might be a little bit loud.
Yeah, I just turned it down.
Okay.
So we should be good. But yeah, so. Like an old family heirloom, I guess this is yours now. My grandfather made it, you know? Most of the family either puts their own problems at its feet or live in its shadow. I just sit at the bottom and look up. So we are starting here with the letter E. Okay. I'm not going to read all the text out loud because I'm going to start in with our first question, which is, how did you decide on what you're going to make for this jam?
So I saw this one was coming up right after the Game Maker Community Jam, and I was like, you know what? I feel like I had a decent idea, and it didn't work out. But I kind of wanted to just be like, you know what? I bet I can do that a lot better after all the practice from the community jam. Like I could do that better. Was kind of just as simple as it was, right?
Yeah. And then the theme for this jam was just neon, so it gave you an aesthetic to apply to the concept you already had.
Yeah, and I kind of went like the opposite of what everyone else did. I went with, and maybe that's probably why I ranked low, but I decided to make it so that when there was neon, it was striking or stood out, if that makes sense. So like everything that's neon is important, and so it kind of like the player is one of the main things that's neon.
So you didn't just make everything neon for the sake of being neon. You deliberately wanted to try and
make it striking.
Yeah. You're using the neon to call attention to the element itself.
Yes. Like it's quite clearly that the orbs are important, right? Because it's one of the only things that are colored.
Okay.
I tried. Yeah, the difficulty curve, I made so many levels I did not have enough time to figure out what was fair and what was not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like the doors become neon when you can go on them. It's like, oh, quite clearly, I need to go towards them, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot less than the original where I had to be like, okay, go find this, go find this, go find that. I'm like, okay, I was able to practice level design a little bit of thinking. The difficulty curve was bad, but I was able to practice like good design practices. Like, okay, how am I drawing the player towards things without telling them go here, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. So I also just realized that I couldn't see what was on the bottom of the screen there because it was.
The text box, yeah.
Yeah. This jump here in particular.
Yeah, I realized. I did not realize how hard it was because I would do it. I didn't even like ask anyone how hard it was because I would just do it so quickly because I got so used to it. I was like, oh dang it.
Oh, okay. And then
but hey, look, checkpoints.
Yes, check. Eventually I get checkpoints. Oh no, that one there at the top is mean.
Yeah, it's you have to fall back down.
Yeah, you're going to be seeing this at somewhat of a delay to me. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, you do change colors when you die, Dr. Tronic, and there's actually a small kind of mechanic about if you manage to beat the boss. I can tell you about like what my favorite mechanic is, but I don't know if anyone even noticed or think it's that cool. But I thought it was clever. But if you manage to beat the boss. But
Well, we'll see. We'll see how far I can get.
yeah.
Okay.
As you can tell, there is 100% less. The hitbox are no longer janky now. The platforming is, and I wouldn't say the platform is janking. It's just I think I made it too hard. Developer difficulty strikes again.
Right. Okay. There we go.
Because
Made it.
if I'd had time to have someone play through this level even once, they'd probably been like, Eric, what is with this jump? Or been like, what? It seems fine to me. And then be like, oh, you can't do it.
Hmm.
And then kind of the same as yes, and as you can see, I'm so clever. It's shooting echoes out at you. Ooh, so I did try to make all the bosses themed, and I tried to make it so that the mechanics from the boss were semi-present in the level beforehand. So like you have the green slime, which you experienced, and you also have the floor becoming dangerous.
Right.
Don't know if people noticed, but I tried to make it. Because can you see the dangers just fine?
The ease that the E is shooting at me, I can't see.
Okay, yeah, I realized that after. I was like, oh man, I should have made that brighter, but
Yeah, if they had like a more of an edge glow effect to them, I think that would.
yeah, I want them not to be bright because I want you to be what was bright, but then I was like, you know what? Playability should have been more important than aesthetic there.
Yeah, just because it's really tough to see when I'm supposed to be dodging. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh boy. How many times do I have to beat the? Ooh.
3 times. You just have to hit him 3 times.
Okay, and then how long of an invincibility does he have between?
Like a second, 2, I think it is.
Okay. Yeah, it's really tough. So what was your development process like for this game?
So I started with the bosses because kind of the main core of it was supposed to be the bosses. So I went and developed each and every boss, and then tried to make levels for that. First, I drew out what I want the levels to be because I don't know how hard it is to notice, but all the stages are like you just climbed a giant E. I'm not sure if you even noticed, right? You climbed an E, so I decided what I wanted the levels to look like, and then made all the floors. Well, and then I made the bosses for them, and then I started on the levels after that. But first, of course, I started on making a decent platforming engine this time.
Wait, oh my goodness! Can you give me a tip on how to fight this letter E? I normally don't ask for suggestions, but
no, you're fine. I know I didn't mean to make it so hard, and yeah, just looking, I'm like I can't. Of course, again, developer difficulty where it's like I knew what to look for, so I could see it. So basically, how I always beat him, as is, right after you spawn, if you die, you're doing fine on the run. I can see, but I'm assuming you die again. Yes. Well, the shots always come from him.
Yeah.
But if you someone asked in chat if they telegraphed. So the shots always do come from him, but he doesn't have an animation for attack. I wish I had made him one. Some of the other bosses do have attacks that are telegraphed. He's just the roughest with that. So how I always beat him is as soon as I spawn, I run right, hit him twice, and then I'll camp, and then I'll jump up onto the top spikes, and I'll camp between 2. So if you jump quickly, you can actually jump between 2 spikes and stay up there.
Okay. Oh, I see. That really helps.
You can flip between 2. So I go up there, do that twice. Yeah, I run right, him twice as he's running, and then bait his shot out as he's retreating, and then jump up to the spikes in the top, and then hit him again.
Oh my goodness.
Good, because he won't fire. He won't fire when he's invincible. Oh, so close. Yeah, no, you almost had him there.
It's really hard to tell. Like, I'm assuming, so this has been hit once, and then that's been hit a second time, and then, oh my gosh.
Yes, he does glow more the more times he's been hit.
Right.
And he only gets the aura when he gets an aura like you after he's been hit 3 times and he's about to die.
Right.
Yeah, I know. I should have made it way more telegraphed, Dr. Tronic. Like, the others I'll give visible, like... There's one I give, like, a visible laser, that, like, indicator that grows the closer he is to firing and stuff, but just... For me, I didn't, and it just, again, I think it was because developer difficulty got me where it's like, oh, this feels completely fine. Well, yeah, because I know the timing perfectly. I picked it. So close. Yeah, you just gotta stay on the spikes when the ground is dangerous like that.
Yeah, it's...
Can you tell what's on the ground where when the wave is coming?
Yeah, that's a little easier to see, but everything else is tougher. There's the contrast.
Yeah, he only has 2 attacks, but I know the shooter attack is hard. Man, just watching you play, I'm like, man, I could have done so much better. But welcome to Game Jams.
Please don't shoot me. I think I got him. Oh my god, I would have been so mad if I had gotten him and then died there. Okay,
Oh, you got him! You
okay.
got him! Okay, just wait. You're gonna move on. And yeah, you
Yeah.
can see the color you are. And yeah, that's my cute little mechanic is the color you beat the boss with is what you light up the neon sign at the beginning with. And
Nice.
you eventually yeah, developer difficulty though. Should have convinced more people to try and play. But Game Jam, you're like, I gotta keep making stuff.
Yeah, I mean, because I know that like you basically made a template for yourself here. You were gonna create the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 levels. So you wanted to make something for each of them.
Yes.
So I guess that's when you have that template made for yourself going in, it's hard to um, sort of like what would you do? Like only make 3 of the letters? Like that doesn't really work. So
Yeah.
but yeah, as Dr. Tronic is mentioning, the jump pads, like it would be neat if you glowed when you touch them or something, but it like fundamentally I understand how they work. Like the feedback that I'm getting is that I touch them and I get launched upward. So like I
Yeah.
understand how those work well enough. But feedback and a little bit of juice on anything is always appreciated. So
Yeah. Yeah. On the later ones there is feedback, but it's a mechanic that gets added, but I make sure not to add too many mechanics per level. Like I'm trying. Like I understand it's still not a great platformer, but I do my best to only add 1 or 2 mechanic per stage and then have those be relevant to the boss.
mhm.
Yeah. And but yeah, all the comments were like, not bad. Hard. Pretty good. Can't get past second. I'm like, oh darn it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess you don't need the jump pad at the top. Uh,
Yeah. That's yeah, you can definitely do the skip.
oh no. I'm realizing what's going on here.
Yeah, the floor is rising on you because
Uh,
thank you, Dr. Tronic. Yeah, that was
please.
one of my
Yeah.
few cool jukes ideas. Yeah. You have to wall jump up in that little corner.
Oh, I didn't know you could wall jump.
Yeah, you did it a couple of times, so I thought you knew.
No,
But I
I've
guess
only been doing it by accident.
that's funny. Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, people realize you can wall jump, right? But guess since there's not really an animation, there's not a distinct animation for it. I guess like if I did something cool, like made the I at one point did have where the tiles you touch glue independently. I should have made it so that they glue as you latched onto them for a wall jump. That would have been cool visual, I think. But
Yeah, I guess it's mostly to do with the fact that like when do you teach the player that they can wall jump?
yeah, right. It's like because I'm like I hope it's just realized. So I guess like here's when you realize, right? It's like why can't I make this? What happens if I click jump again? Oh, I bounce off the sides.
Hmm. I think that if you were going to teach the player to wall jump, it should be the very first thing you do in the level before there's an opportunity to die. Ah, my gosh. Okay. And this is the really particularly brutal thing here is these. Okay, made it. Singleton platforms. I've said it before and I will say it again. But anytime, oops, anytime that you are faced with a platforming game like this one, where you've got to make a series of consecutive single thin jumps, this is really tough. Can I wall jump off of these or?
Yes, you can wall jump to climb up
Oh my
these.
god!
This is
Oh my
actually
god!
another. This is kind of a check of hey, this is how you can wall jump
Mhm.
because you can wall jump to make that first one. But I'm like I should have put that in before the one with the death, right?
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's a little
Hmm?
awkward to have to wall jump up the very platform that you're standing on. Like when I think of wall jumping, I tend to think more about um,
Cross, yeah.
like yeah, this just feels like okay. There we go, made it. Um, oh, that's going back the way I came. Oh no. So what happens here? Can I just die, or am I going to restart this
No,
level?
because you don't have the key anymore. You have to go get the key.
Ah, why?
If you go get the key, you'll respawn right next to the door. I promise.
Okay.
But yeah, like I was like, oh, clearly people realize you need to go to the top right door, but then multiple people didn't. I'm like, oh, actually, you know what? No, you'll lose the key when you die at this point. Oh my goodness, man. Yeah, I thought it was super obvious, but again, that's
Well,
developer. Yay.
well,
I'm very new to
yeah.
game
I mean,
dev.
that's okay. It's just I'm
Yeah,
wondering from that perspective, why did you make it so you could go back the way you came?
consistency. Because you do have to like in the very first level, you went backwards to progress in the level, right?
Right.
So consistent is like, oh, you should always be able to go back, but then
Well, in this
you
case,
really should.
unless there's an express reason to have to,
Yeah, it was more a
especially,
consistency thing, but probably
well,
wasn't worth it.
that's the thing. I would say that in this case, it's not worth it because there's no good reason to go back to that level. Like, I also try to maintain that same sort of sense in the levels that I design, where they are, by and large, they are bi-directional. Like, if you missed something in the early part of the level, it's no big deal. You can go back and get it later. But
Right.
that's why I have that bidirectionality is because there's a sense that you could miss something. When I
Yeah.
made Pursuit for the Game Maker Community Jam most recently, I didn't allow the player to backtrack because there was no reason to. It was a linear progression of levels. Even though you could technically backtrack through a significant portion of the game. Like, it is weirdly and surprisingly possible to make it go through those levels backwards to a large extent, even if it's not strictly necessary. Um, so here, once again, I could backtrack to the previous screen, but there'd be no reason to. Or there, I
You
guess
will need
eventually
to.
there will, yeah.
Yeah, you will need to because like I said, it's shaped like a letter, and a lot of the letters are
Yes.
not one directional, so that's why I made
Yes.
them like
Okay.
this. But yeah, you have to go find the big key though before it unlocks all doors.
I see.
And then this level is just sort of like a quick. All right, let's check to make sure you understand the jumping a little bit more. I'm so glad you're
Yeah.
able to get past that last room. I did adjust that one because a lot of people were finding that last room impossible. So I'm glad you didn't actually have trouble with that room anymore. That was my one. They said you could make tiny changes after you submitted your neon games, and that was
Right.
my one change, was making this level a lot more possible.
Okay. I have so much trouble making this wall jump to get up on top of this
Uh,
block here. Um,
man, my telling of how hard it'll be for players is zero because yeah, so I used to make games like for fun as like a hobby like 5 or 6 years ago, and then but never really made any like big projects.
mhm.
But then I was like, and then on a whim, I'm like, I'm joining the Game Maker Community Jam, whatever. And that was a small mistake. And this was, you know what? I learned some good lessons. I can make something much better than a small mistake. And it's a lot better, but it's still has its, oh, this person doesn't make games feel to it.
This here is so frustrating.
Just jump, you're gonna be okay, I promise.
Well,
I
oh
know.
god, you slide down the slopes so quickly. Like, you barely have time to react between like edging onto the slope. Like, this just
Yeah.
seems like there's no death here. There's only loss of progress and oh my god, no.
So I you know what? I also made a critical mistake that
Hmm.
I only realized a developer could make that's new. You wanna know what video one I do you wanna know what one of my favorite things to watch on YouTube is?
Uh huh.
People playing incredibly hard um Mario Maker 2 levels.
No.
I was like, I should have watched some easier platformers. Cause to me, I'm like, yeah, dying several times in one part's normal. It's like, no, it's not, Eric.
I would say it's normal for like the people who derive entertainment from the like suffering of
That, but it's like, Eric,
others.
this was a game jam. This was supposed to be chill and fun. You could have a little. The boss, if you want this much difficulty, you should have had more checkpoints. Like a lot more checkpoints if you wanted the difficulty. I'm like, yeah. Also, I also watched a video about getting over it. I'm like, oh, I'll have this be like getting over it, where it's you're going up and you mostly just fall. I'm like, Eric, that's not getting over is fun to a tiny fraction of people. Eric, what will you think? It's like, oh, yeah, that's true.
I'm not even sure if getting over it is strictly fun as much as people are getting the catharsis of like, hey, I conquered this insanely difficult challenge. Um, I don't know if that's a game that's meant to be fun.
Yeah, that's what's with some of the Mario Maker levels I watched too. I'm like, you know what? Those weren't fun. You were going for fun, so maybe you should have watched. I don't know. Maybe watch some nice Celeste, Meat Boy. Those are difficulty that those are hard. Those are hard, but they're ones that people actually have fun with difficulty.
And then you've got people like me who I couldn't even beat Celeste with the. I didn't even bother to play through Celeste with the assist mode turned on because I just wasn't finding it. Like, I didn't find the core game, like, I found the core game to be too hard, and then I didn't want to turn on assist mode because I didn't just want to have, like, oh, great, I can get double jumps or
Yeah.
invincibility. It's like, I don't need double jumps. I don't need invincibility. I need more checkpoints. Like, this game is hard, but I'm good enough to beat it. I just can't beat 5 things in a row that are
Yeah.
instant death pits.
Yeah. So maybe it's just the platformers I enjoy are too challenging. So
Mhm.
that's why it's like maybe I should have thought back and be like, you know what, Eric? Most people don't like the expert levels in Mario Maker or Super Expert. Most people think Splunky's too hard.
I
I
mean,
did not look at
it's
Splunky for this, luckily, but eh,
and that's fine. Like, it's nothing to say
but
that a game that's this challenging isn't going to be fun to some people. It's just not necessarily going to be fun to
yeah,
me because I'm so uniquely like I design my games in a very different way. Like,
yeah.
checkpoints everywhere.
I
Like,
and yeah, this.
I
Oh, I feel so
can't
bad
even
watching
clear
it
the
because I'm
full
like,
screen.
this jump. I did not think it was difficult at all because developer difficulty because I know exactly how because of course I know exactly how that works.
Yeah,
So it's very easy to just be like boop boop. I know exactly where to land. I know exactly tolerance.
yeah. Like,
I know exactly how far the jump goes just because I jumped 30,000. I beat this game 2 dozen times through all the way, and
yeah.
then each level I played dozens of times, and I got really good at it. So yeah, that's gonna be a hard lesson to figure out. But yeah,
Well,
it's
okay.
it's fun watching you do it though, because it was funny you guys talk about feedback because that's how I was actually looking at the jams. So I got like near a 3 score on the jam, and I'm like, huh, people do not give honest feedback on these, do they? Because I got like under a 3 for my overall score, and all the
Yeah.
comments like, yeah, it's pretty fun, just hard, real amazing entry, just fun, da da da. And I'm like, I think the fact that your project is attached to your review hurts the process sometimes.
Yeah, like I'm of two minds with the feedback that you received there. Like, for on the one hand, anyone who actually commented on the game and said that they enjoyed it probably left between a 3 and 5 star rating. Um, like,
People who are
people,
just like too hard kept dying 1-1, yeah, right?
yeah, exactly. So anyone who actually left a comment probably left a pretty negative review. And in fact, if you're I don't know if you got the total number of ratings that you received, but it's like or if you could see like your rating breakdown. But if you got a a relatively high number of ratings and then still only a 3 star average, then if you assume that the average person who left a comment left a relatively high review, then you can assume the average person who didn't leave a comment left a relatively low review. And if that averages out somewhere in the middle, then that still means that a decent number of people gave you between a 4 and 5 star review. It just means that it was canceled out by the people who didn't have a good time with this.
True.
And that's sort of the trick, is figuring out, not that you can't make a game that's really challenging, it's figuring out how to refine that process such that it always feels fair to people. And that way, like, because this challenge that's in the middle of the screen of like having to clear the jump to make it to the other side, that feels intrinsically challenging.
Yeah.
To then clear that and bonk my head on this next part of the level, that's frustrating. So
Yeah,
that's the very subtle difference.
yeah, I see what you mean where it's like, yeah, if you only had to do that jump once, you'd be like, oh, that was a really hard jump. That was kind of cool. I'm glad I made it. But that sense of relief you get for defeating it is
Mhm.
immediately ended by, man.
Exactly. You got it.
Oh no, that's actually why I sent it to you and and even Ski was I was like, I really want to watch other developers play it and see what they think because yeah, it's like that's part of why I'm like the game jams is so many people will play your game and give reviews and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, so that's part of why I decided to do game jams, because I remember a big part of when I tried doing it like as a hobby back 5 or 6, 7 years ago was it was so hard to get people to review your game a lot of the time. I'm like, hey, people are great at doing reviews for game jams, and yeah, all right, and I know for a fact the side bounce are super janky because I changed how they work to make certain levels a lot easier, but that made other levels a lot harder. So, and yeah, that's a weird wall jump bit too.
So much
Man, I should have had a
stress.
checkpoint up
So
here.
much stress. There's yes.
I know I should have had a checkpoint up here, but hey, he has feedback when he's about to fire. That's good. Does the feedback help? Of like when the laser getting bigger, showing he's about to fire.
What?
Oh,
It would help. That hurt. That physically
I know.
hurt.
I should have had a checkpoint. I didn't realize how hard it'd be to get up there. If I thought about like, yeah, developer difficulty, man. I'm learning about it hard.
That's okay. I mean, I completed your previous game. Your previous game was hard.
It wasn't fair.
I would say that there were a few moments in your previous game in a small mistake. That was the title, right?
Yeah.
That's
unfair.
But there were a few moments that were unfair, but like by and large, I still felt like I was making better progress than I was in this one. I think I have to call it there. I don't think I can. Okay.
Completely fine. You did wonderful. I can't. I would honestly be surprised if a single person lit up all the neons at this point, because, yeah, like, but yeah, like, yeah. Again, developer difficulty, man. I'm still learning that, and I gotta find people that are willing to play games like in progress a little bit more. Like, hey, play this level real quick. Tell me, I feel like this game is fun. I feel like this jump is interesting and fun. How do you feel? And I think most people would be like, yeah, the slime jump sucks.
I would say that the most important thing is refining your sense of your own sense of difficulty, because it's something that I feel like I've gotten decently good at in my own games.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah, I imagine it's one of those things where eventually you learn what it's like. Okay, if it's this hard for me, the developer, I probably get a sense of like, okay, I know if I die at this point 3 times, I know my buddy who's okay at platformers dies 20, so maybe that's too hard. I imagine you eventually get a feel for that. But yeah, thank you for playing. Thank you for playing so much. I know I should not have been watching Getting Over It levels.
No, so okay, to be a little more specific, when I'm playing a game, like here, I've got Worlds Within Worlds. This is the sort of engine that I was building my game in. So let me crack open just a level from Infinite Descent. Here, here. Okay, so I've got Infinite Descent here open, and this is a game that has like multiple levels of increasing difficulty, and I'm running through this screen. Let me take a better screen actually here. This one here. There's fire. It's a little easier to parse what's going on here. So when I'm making the level for Game Jam, and I'm not anticipating anyone being able to test it for me and observe them playing it, then not only do I go through and play it once to make sure you can get through without dying, but I will subject myself to it multiple times. It's not a question of, oh, I made it on my first try, so it's no problem. It's a question of how many times, if I play this level 5 times, how many of those 5 times do I die? If I succeed 5 out of 5 times, cool, I'm still going to delete half the obstacles. And then reintroduce them down the line. Like, eventually the player will be ready for that level of challenge. That's what the black flames are versus the pink ones. Okay. So the very first time you encounter this level, you've got the pink fire. And then the next time you encounter it, there's a few bits of black flame. and then the time after that, there's a few more bits of black flame, and then there's the skull moving back and forth. So you have to jump, land, and jump again, and then on the very last level of difficulty, there's yet another skull moving back and forth. So you basically can't stand still. You have to jump, land, jump, and then avoid until you fall to the next screen. So yeah, that is. I guess that's the way that I approach the like self-calibrating my developer difficulty is not just seeing like how many times do I die before I make it. If I can't make something within a reasonable number of tries, there is no way I will subject players to that. You will see in my streams, I have said like, oh wow, that was really cool, and it's a weird quirk of the engine that this is possible at all. I'm not going to force my players to. I'm not going to demand that level of perfection of my players, unless I like someday, and I might still do this if people really, really want. I might someday take all those super difficult challenges and release like a black diamond version of the game and say like,
Yeah.
here are all the hardest jumps and stuff to make.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But sorry, go ahead.
No, I appreciate your feedback. Like, and that's part of why I'm like, I feel like I knew most people were, again, this is the biggest thing I've made. This is bigger than stuff I made 5 or 6 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's even more polished, sadly enough. But I was like, you know what? I want to get in the hand of other developers, see what they say about it. So I was really glad you looked at it. Just the way you're describing it, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, either I should have made sure that after every difficult section, you could save your project progress.
Mm-hmm.
So that way you could be like, yes, I did it, right?
Yep.
Like, if the first time you made that slime jump, you got a little shining mote of a checkpoint,
yep,
I think you would have been very happy with, like, yeah, I made the hard jump. But instead, it's just like, cool, do it 5 more times until you're just angry at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I should have made it easier, one or the other.
Well, that's it. It's a little bit of both, honestly, because it's
finding
the idea,
out the balance, right?
Yes, like in my game, every green spot on this map is a checkpoint, right?
Yeah.
So there are lots of checkpoints, and if we evaluate the sort of like this, you have to clear this entire screen between checkpoints. There's always going to be a screen between checkpoints. And sometimes, like, here's a checkpoint, you have to dodge, like, a couple bits of flame, and then here's another checkpoint. Here is, like, a tiny bit. Like, this checkpoint, what's this even doing here? But, there it is, nonetheless.
That probably helped some people who had a hard time in the spot above.
Exactly. Because I figure here, you're going a pretty long way. So, like, either you're calibrating down the actual number of consecutive sort of points of lethality. That's kind of the way that I think about it, is how much danger is there between X and Y point, and then can I figure out a way to put a checkpoint in between there? Or can I just reduce the number of like potential points of failure so that it just is a smoother experience overall?
That makes perfect sense. Yeah, I could have even said myself a little rule. It's like, okay, two or three dangers, checkpoint. 2 or 3 dangers, checkpoint. 2 or 3 dangers, checkpoint. Yep. And it might have been a little overwhelming with the amount of checkpoints, but more people probably would have finished the game.
Yes, definitely. And I want to clarify, I think about these in terms of 2 sort of tiers. I think of obstacles and I think of challenges. I think of having obstacles as these kind of minor things that it's like, okay, it's not very likely that anyone's going to die here. And I think of challenges as, okay, no, absolutely people are going to die doing this part. And that's where I try to include maybe one checkpoint between a few separate obstacles, but I will usually put checkpoints on either end of a challenge, because that's where I feel like players are most likely to die somewhere, and then I want to have players repeat content as rarely as possible.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. But yeah, like I'm even thinking like on that K boss could have been like, oh yeah, there's a boss fight at the end, but maybe there's a cool like you hit something that makes it so that when if you do die or you fall, there's something at the bottom to help you get up faster, right? Like you activate jumpers, or you push springs down or something, right? So
Yeah,
I'm
it
just
could
thinking
be
like,
that. Absolutely. Like
yeah,
you don't have to do checkpoints in the literal sense of the word. You
yeah,
can
like you
get
could just
creative
do
with it
like,
like that.
how do you make it so that you save your progress? Because in that one, I'm like, well, it's a boss fight, so it's weird to have checkpoints at a boss fight. But like, well, you could have once you've gone this far, it's easier, right? You have
Mhm.
some sort of advantage over the boss. So I'm like, so yeah, so I'm just thinking it too. Like, yeah, I'm
Absolutely.
just thinking like, there's a lot of fun ways to it, huh?
Of course, yeah. It doesn't need to literally be the checkpoint. But anyway, we are a little over time here tonight, so I think we're going to have to cut things off there. But thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for
Thank
submitting
you so
your
much.
game. Even if I didn't have the best time with it, I wish I could have
Now,
completed it like I did with the other one. Um,
it's so funny. I thought
it's all
this
part of
one
the
was
learning
way more
process.
fair, but I thought this was way more fair, and I think it was more fair and more janky. But I think I also got better at platforming, so it was the difficulty just got harder.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I still look forward to trying your next game. So thank you so much for
Thank
joining me
you.
on the call, and
Yeah,
have a good evening.
thank you. Have a good day. Thank you
Yeah,
so
bye
much.
bye.